A lot has happened over the past 15 days or so that I've been out of town. I made a video on July 25th discussing the Rogue One Celebration reel trailer, so if you're looking for my thoughts on that, I'll include a link in the video description below. Let's discuss some of my favorite highlights from Celebration and recent random news from around the web. A few nuggets of information came out about the Han Solo standalone film during the Celebration panel. Nothing huge, nothing really discussing story or scenes, but just some fun information. For instance, directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller said they will be shooting at famed Pinewood Studios with principal photography starting early next year. As we know, Alden Ehrenreich will be playing a young version of Han Solo. Ehrenreich was actually the first person to audition for the role out of 3,000 other people who auditioned. Many Rogue One and Episode VIII crew members will be working on the Han Solo film. Director Chris Miller actually played a stormtrooper in the Empire Strikes Back special edition released 20 years ago. That's pretty awesome. The Han Solo spin-off film is slated to release on May 25th, 2018. Oh, and apparently Alden Ehrenreich has signed a 3-film contract with Disney. My interpretation of that little nugget of information is that this single Han Solo film might spawn an entire young Han Solo trilogy. We'll just have to wait and see. I've said it before, I don't necessarily want or need this film. I like the mysterious nature of Han Solo's introduction. Meeting him in the cantina was absolutely perfect. Sometimes less is more. Regardless, I am looking forward to it. I think Ehrenreich will be a fantastic young Han Solo, and I'm sure the film will be super fun. A Rogue One teaser poster was revealed. I've talked about how I really like the idea of a new environment in Star Wars, and this poster really just hits home with that. The lush, tropical palm tree setting is unique, especially with the Death Star taking up the entire sky. Hell, the Death Star takes up most of the poster. It's the main character. This Rogue One poster stands alone in the catalog of Star Wars posters through history. It just looks different. For the most part, theatrical and teaser posters for Star Wars films have big characters, mashed up and often chaotic backgrounds. But this poster, like I said, is different. It almost looks like it could be a shot taken right out of the movie. The biggest thing on the poster is that technological terror. The characters are almost secondary. I've said it a million times, I want Rogue One to be a different kind of Star Wars film. This poster is yet another example of Rogue One setting itself apart from the other films. We were given some insight into the motion capture droid Alan Tudyk is playing, K2SO. Tudyk said, quote, "That's K2 for you. Look, she gives him her pack and he doesn't really grab it. That's K2. Go get the bags, droid. No, I'd rather not. That's not my thing." Cassian reprogrammed him and did like a data wipe. When he reprogrammed him, he's not quite all there. He speaks his mind and says things, I don't know, that can be unsettling. He's very honest. If you know old people, he's like that. He just says whatever he thinks. It was great. It was really great to play him. Close quote. Will Rogue One have a title crawl? That's one of the big looming questions. Some people say it wouldn't feel like a Star Wars film if it didn't have that crawl. I find myself in the other camp. The camp that says, hey, feel free to set these Star Wars story films apart. I would have no problem if they used the crawl solely for the episodic films. I understand the other side of the argument though. I completely get it. Truthfully, I'm fine with whatever the production team decides to do. Kathleen Kennedy said, quote, "You know, we're in the midst of talking about it, but I don't think these films will have an opening crawl. I think that's what we kind of telegraphed at the beginning of the event today." Close quote. And what she's talking about there is the little teaser of a New Hope crawl going up and it glitching out. I don't know if you saw that, you can check it out. It's roughly a minute long. It's the opening to the Rogue One panel. Gareth Edwards, the director of Rogue One, said, quote, "I think basically there's a lot of things I probably can't talk about. It's probably the safest way to answer that. The idea is that this film is supposed to be different than the saga films. The whole crawl of it all, it's funny how people are fascinated on that." Close quote. So it's not really clear whether or not the crawl will be included. And honestly, I don't really want to know if the crawl will be in there or not until I plop my happy ass in the theater with some artery-clogging buttered popcorn. I'm curious, what do you guys want? Crawl? No crawl? Or are you like me and would be fine with whatever they choose? Costumes along with props were showcased in an exhibit at Star Wars Celebration. The costumes look incredible. You know, they really remind me of the uniforms that the Allies wore in World War II, especially Bodhi Rook. His costume looks like a US Army paratrooper. Overall, I love each and every one of these costumes. They're individually unique yet feel like they're in the same universe, which is what you want, which is what you should be going for. Sometimes costumes can look, I don't know, goofy and forced, like there's gadgets and gizmos that don't really seem to have a purpose, you know? Like they're just there to look cool, which is fine sometimes. But everything on these costumes seemed to serve a purpose, seemed to have been thought out for practical real-world use and not just to look neat on camera, if that makes any sense. Star Wars takes place in a lived-in and abused universe. These costumes really bring that home. We've known for a little while now that Episode 8 takes place immediately after The Force Awakens. There's no break. This, of course, is unique when it comes to the Star Wars saga films. I like it. New ways of doing things, fresh ideas. Rian Johnson, the director of Episode 8, listed a few movies that heavily influenced the direction of the film. Bridge on the River Kwai, Dunga Din, Sahara, Letter Never Sent, 12 O'Clock High, and 3 Outlaw Samurai. I've only seen 2 out of those 6, Bridge on the River Kwai and Sahara. They're fantastic, classics by any definition. And Episode 8, borrowing ideas from them will no doubt be a positive. The other 4 I'm not very familiar with, but they're now on my must-watch list. I haven't watched Season 2 of Rebels. I know that puzzles a lot of you. I'm watching like 3 shows simultaneously right now. I've got a lot of TV to watch. I'll get to Rebels eventually. So I didn't really want to look too deep into the Season 3 news that was released. But one nugget of information that was impossible for me to avoid was the fact that Grand Admiral Thrawn is now back in the mix of canon and will appear in Season 3 of Rebels. Very cool. It's been years, hell, decades, since I've read the Heir to the Empire trilogy. It's fuzzy in my mind. I'm now feeling the urge to crack those books open again and give them another read. Timothy Zahn wrote Heir to the Empire, as we all know, and it was revealed that he's writing a new Thrawn book slated to release in April of 2017. Some Star Wars Battlefront news was revealed. The 3rd Death Star DLC will release in September. A little trailer was released. It doesn't reveal much. It's kind of cinematic. It's cool. Players will be able to play as 2 new heroes, the bounty hunter Bosk and everyone's favorite Wookiee, Chewbacca. A lot of people have been asking to play as Chewbacca. Where is Chewbacca? Now we have him, and I'm excited. Of course, there will be new maps, new star cards, blasters, and vehicles. Keep your eyes peeled for more information coming out in the near future. The 4th DLC pack will focus on Rogue One. Its official title is Rogue One Scarif. Scarif is the name of the featured tropical planet we've seen in the trailer. 2 new playable heroes will be introduced to the game, Director Krennic and Jyn Erso. No other details have really been announced about the final Battlefront DLC pack, and I wouldn't expect any to come through until after the film is released. I, for one, cannot wait for these 2 DLC packs, especially the Death Star one. I've been saying it since the game was released. I want some Death Star maps. My wish has come true. Well, there you have it. Those are a few of my favorite little nuggets of information that came out of Star Wars Celebration. Am I late to the party? Yeah. I was basically out of town for 15 days in the mountains and couldn't keep up with all the news. But now I'm back and ready to pump out some content. Thanks for watching, everyone. HelloGreedo, out.